You are listening from Lee Swift Book.
Imagine this. One morning, you suddenly wake up from a restless, half-broken sleep, only to discover that your body has changed. You have turned into a gigantic beetle, repulsive and grotesque, with a bloated, funnel-shaped abdomen and tiny, twitching legs that never seem to stop moving. A surreal, absurd tragedy like this could never happen to you, right? But wait, don't dismiss this strange scene as the opening of some meaningless horror film. It is, in fact, the unforgettable beginning of the Metamorphosis by Austrian writer Franz Kafka, a monumental masterpiece, widely taught and studied, and one of the most influential works of the 20th century. When we are young, we tend to feel only the cruelty and terror of the story. Yet after stepping into adulthood, after accumulating deeper and more complicated life experiences, returning to this book reveals something far more unsettling. I came to realize that Kafka tells an utterly irrational story in an astonishingly calm, almost indifferent tone. And once we strip away the cloak of fiction, the truth beneath it becomes deeply painful. That giant insect hiding in the darkness is a miniature reflection of countless adults. This metamorphosis is no longer a distant fantasy. It has become a reality that many of us are already living through, or quietly enduring. Hello everyone, and welcome to Lee Swift Book. Today, we will share one profoundly important message drawn from this timeless masterpiece. Don't live your life solely to please others. People only care about how high you can fly. They don't care how tired you are. Let's take a step back and look at Gregor Samsa's life before the catastrophe. Every morning, he woke up before the sun even thought of rising. He rushed through brushing his teeth and washing his face just to catch the 5 a.m. train. Then came endless business trips, one after another, across countless cities. He was almost completely drained, constantly on the move, constantly switching trains and schedules. His meals were irregular. His sleep was never enough. For Gregor, this wasn't an exception. It was his daily routine for 5 straight years. Not a single day off, not a single mistake at work. And here is the most terrifying part of all. When Gregor discovered that he had turned into a gigantic insect, his first reaction was not panic. He didn't scream. He didn't desperately try to turn back into a human. Instead, only one thought echoed in his mind. I must not be late for work. Why would that be his first thought? Because the belief, I'm allowed to be exhausted, but I am not allowed to collapse, had already carved itself deep into the mind of an adult like Gregor, just as it has into so many of us. Every morning, rushing into the crowd to make it to work on time. Every evening, squeezing back home, drained and hollow. Day after day, we begin to resemble soulless machines, spinning endlessly for the sake of our jobs. Writer Milan Kundera once said that in office life, we have no real initiative, no freedom of action, only commands and rules. Gregor was no different. Every time he stepped into the company, he wanted to scream straight into his boss's face that he wanted to quit. He imagined that moment hundreds of times. Yet reality always stood right in front of him. He had to endure. He had to suppress his emotions, because he was carrying his parents' debt, one that might take another 5 or 6 years to fully repay. After his father's business collapsed, Gregor voluntarily became the pillar of the family, the pride of his parents, the role model of his younger sister. This pillar could not fall, and it didn't dare to fall. In real life, there are countless people just like Gregor. Every morning they wake up with no way back, no exit, only clenched teeth and another day of work. If they quit, where would the money for milk come from? The tuition for their children? If they stopped working, how would they pay for their parents' medical bills? How would they keep up with the installments on the car, the house? These are the responsibilities nailed tightly onto the shoulders of an adult. No matter how exhausted you are, you simply don't dare to stop. But now, Gregor's situation was completely different. His body had become unbearably heavy and awkward. His quick, capable hands were gone. replaced by tiny legs twitching in uncontrollable chaos. It took him 2 full hours just to figure out how to roll himself out of bed. By then, it was already past 8 in the morning. He was an hour late for work. At exactly 8 o'clock in the morning, already an hour past the start of the workday, voices echoed from outside Gregor's room. It was his father, accompanied by a company representative. In a workplace obsessed with efficiency, where would there ever be room for compassion? Such a place tolerates neither mistakes nor absence. They had come to check whether Gregor was pretending to be sick at home. But the moment the door opened, and the man saw that Gregor had turned into a gigantic insect, panic erupted. Terror took over. He spun around and fled without a second thought. Behind him, tragically, came Gregor's desperate pleas. He tried to speak. He tried to explain. "I'll get dressed right away. I'll gather the samples and set off immediately. I'm loyal to my boss. My parents and my sister all depend on me. I need this job to pay off our debts. Only this job gives me a way out. Please, don't be so hard on me." Yet his voice had become nothing more than the chaotic buzzing of an insect. Sounds no one could understand. Watching the company representative run away, Gregor plunged into the depths of despair. Gregor's despair is no different from that of many employees in the 21st century, people who are laid off simply because of their health. I once witnessed an employee who had worked for 5 years, accumulated more than 3,000 hours of overtime, and given everything he had. But the moment he was diagnosed with a terminal illness, the company quietly, skillfully, found ways to force him out. It only reinforces one brutal truth. People care about how high you can fly. They don't care how tired you are. In reality, no one has the time, or the intention, to empathize or to investigate why Gregor turned into a beetle. People care only about their own interests. When we first step into society, we all carry ambitions. We believe that if we just work hard enough, we'll get promoted, earn more money, and build a better life. But after a few years of struggling, we are forced to accept a sobering truth. Most of us are ordinary, and most jobs exist purely for survival. Even if you give it your all, even if you achieve short-term success, and a higher salary, once you grow older and your health begins to decline, this spinning wheel will eventually throw you out, without mercy, without a way back. A company can continue operating without you. But if you lose yourself, if you lose your health, you will never truly get it back. No job that exists merely for making a living is worth gambling your life for. So the very first thing you must learn to do is this: love your health and love yourself. Don't live your life just to please others. Gregor's transformation into a gigantic insect did not only terrify the company representative, it sent a wave of sheer panic through every member of his family. His father could not hide his disgust. He stomped his feet, brandishing a cane and a rolled-up newspaper, forcing Gregor back into his room. His mother screamed in terror, crying out for help, while his younger sister collapsed into desperate sobs. Gregor had no choice but to crawl back inside, alone. He understood their fear. Anyone would recoil when confronted with something so unnatural. Yet beneath that surface fear lay something far deeper and far more frightening than his grotesque body. Gregor had gone from being the family's financial pillar to becoming their burden. He had lost his job. He could no longer support them. The family's savings were only enough to last for 2 more years. Once this pillar of the house collapsed, everyone else was forced to struggle for survival. His father took a menial job as a bank messenger. His mother began sewing underwear for extra money. His sister abandoned her dream of pursuing music and became a sales clerk. Life grew busier for everyone else, and Gregor at last truly became an insect, useless, expendable, without value. This reveals a painful truth. When you are the one who always carries the weight, you forget that one day the rain may fall heavily and soak you instead. Think back to the Singaporean commercial, A Father's Promise. The office worker in that story left home early and returned late. never failing to send money back to his parents. Yet his father always calculated the amount, dissatisfied whenever it was less than the month before. When his mother fell ill, he ran everywhere, desperately trying, yet still couldn't secure a decent hospital room. His wife wanted to travel, and all he could say was, "It's too expensive. Can we go somewhere closer instead?" After all his efforts, what he received in return was his father's dissatisfaction, his mother's silence, and his wife's quiet disappointment. In the end, he was forced to confess, painfully and honestly, "I'm sorry. I couldn't give you the best. I didn't become the person you hoped I would be." From the moment we are born, it seems we are burdened with the expectations of far too many people. Parents want us to excel academically, land a high-paying job, and find the right partner. Bosses expect us to work tirelessly and give everything we have. Lovers want us to understand them, empathize, and always be there when they need us. Other people's expectations become heavy chains that bind us. If we live only to satisfy them, we will soon lose our way and lose our true selves. The novel, Everything and Never, once said that the purpose of an entire lifetime is to break free from others, expectations, and discover who we truly are. To be honest, it is nearly impossible to escape expectations altogether, but we cannot live inside them forever. Expectations are a blessing, good intentions others place upon us, but they should never become the goal of our lives. The only thing we truly need to do is work toward the things we ourselves genuinely desire. So ask yourself this: why allow others to define your worth through their expectations? If you spend your entire life striving only for others' approval, you will lose countless meanings that rightfully belong to you in the first place. Never overestimate your place in any relationship. When Gregor once stood like an umbrella, shielding his entire family from wind and rain, he was valued. But now, transformed into a gigantic insect, he looked no different from a ticking time bomb inside the house. The relationship between Gregor and his family changed unmistakably. For the first month, they still tried to care for him. But when it became clear that nothing was improving, their efforts slowly turned into empty gestures. Each day, he was given leftover scraps and watered-down soup, along with growing impatience and quiet hostility. No one understood Gregor's pain, yet he never blamed his family. Deep down, he still longed to return to the sky, to become the pillar again, to shoulder everything for those he loved. He tried, one last time, to protect his family, and that was the moment he lost everything. One night, the tenants demanded that Gregor's sister play the violin for them. They listened while smoking, distracted and indifferent, growing impatient and ready to stop at any moment. Seeing this, Gregor felt a sharp ache for his sister. With great effort, he crawled forward and tugged lightly at her skirt, hoping to signal her to retreat to her room and play alone, just for herself. But in doing so, he exposed himself to the tenants. They reacted with disgust and immediately demanded to terminate their lease. At that moment, the family's patience finally collapsed. Gregor's sister, the one who had once been kindest to him, now overwhelmed by anger and humiliation, locked him inside his room and shut the door. Before it closed, Gregor caught one final glimpse of his family, his sister clinging to their father's neck, his mother already asleep. The three of them looked calm, warm, whole, as if Gregor had never existed in their lives at all. That sight nearly extinguished the last fragile spark of his will to live. A writer once said, "Only when you fall to the lowest and most insignificant place do you gain the clearest view of human truth." Gregor had loved his family with absolute sincerity. He believed that sacrifice for loved ones did not require repayment. What he forgot was this: human nature is fundamentally self-interested, and no relationship, no matter how deep, is immune to change. The next day, when the cleaning woman came to tidy the room, she found a dead bug lying on the floor. Gregor had died alone. This tragic ending leaves us with a harsh lesson. Never overestimate any relationship, especially those sustained by money, or those built entirely on endless giving from one side alone. In psychology, there is something known as the Westermark effect, often simplified as a reward fatigue principle. People say moderate rewards create motivation, but excessive rewards can drain desire. This applies to emotions as well. Balanced giving nourishes a relationship, but when you give everything you have, one day your giving becomes invisible, unnecessary, even burdensome. The author of Wuthering Heights once offered a quiet warning. Love yourself. Do not hand over all your love, your soul, and your strength as a gift, only to waste it on places that do not need it and on people who do not value you. Gregor Samsa's true misfortune was not his transformation into an insect. It was the fact that he had lost himself long before that ever happened. On the surface, Gregor seemed to have no choice but to exhaust himself working in order to repay his family AC debts. Yet when he was young, full of energy and potential, he had already lost the courage to seek a more reasonable, more sustainable way to do so. He never learned how to find moments of joy in the narrow cracks of a life built entirely around labor and repayment. Kafka once wrote that the fear of losing one job slowly corrodes a person's character. A life like Gregor's may appear stable, but in reality, beneath the relentless grind, his freedom had been stolen by the fear of daring to choose differently. He turned his own life into a prison. As for Gregor's family, they were struggling, yes, but they were not destitute. Everyone was still capable of earning a living, even while burdened with debt. And yet Gregor placed himself at the highest point, becoming the sole pillar who carried everything, paying off the family's debts, buying a better home for his parents, even financing his sister's dream of becoming a musician. What he gave went far beyond what family obligation required. And in doing so, he unknowingly trained those around him to rely, to depend, and to expect, using the name of family to justify entitlement and quiet exploitation. The most dangerous moment is when you make other people's needs the center of your life. Your value then becomes defined entirely by their demands and their judgments. Losing yourself means forgetting that each day you are meant to reflect inward, to ask who you truly are. And one day, you stop resisting what is distorted and unfair. You surrender, becoming a servant in someone else's life. For Gregor, acceptance from his family should have been the one thing that allowed him to survive his insect form and continue living. But on the night his family abandoned him, Gregor, a man who lived solely for others, lost the very meaning of his own existence. There is a cruel irony in this story. The family ultimately felt relieved after Gregor's death. Even more unsettling, the story does not end in sorrow. After losing their son, Gregor's parents simply shifted their hopes for the future onto their young, energetic daughter. And perhaps one day, she too would become a magnificent butterfly with broken wings, if she followed the same path, living only within others' expectations, striving endlessly to please her parents. In real life, we may not turn into insects, but many of us are not so different from Gregor. We live to satisfy others. Gregor's metamorphosis may have been his punishment, but it was also a warning for all of us. Recognize those who take your sacrifices for granted. The meaning of our existence is not to become who others need us to be. Our struggles, our contributions, and our sacrifices are not things that should ever be treated as obligations. What matters most is allowing the value you create to shape a life that truly belongs to you. Care for others, but live for yourself as well. That balance is the strongest armor you can wear in this world. Remember this: we are not born to become our parents' regrets, nor our children's servants, nor someone else's shadow. The most important task in life is to face your true self. When you begin to live honestly as who you are, your life becomes calmer, freer, and more confident. I'll end with a thought from a graceful and insightful writer. We once longed desperately for recognition from the outside world, only to realize in the end that this world belongs to us alone and has nothing to do with anyone else. May you and I both learn to live true to our own light and walk forward bravely to meet a better version of ourselves. Thank you for walking this journey with me. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the channel. It truly helps keep the motivation alive. Thank you sincerely for being here.